Hello, everyone. So I am back and I am doing now a Facebook Live as we lost David Jose in the last Zoom we were doing, but we wanted to come back and hit on a few more points before we are done tonight. So let me go ahead and look for David. Okay, sent him an invite. And I've been asking him to continue, diving into what is an affidavit, how he's using it to combat the CPS systems in Arizona and other states. And there's other things, so maybe he'll share with us a little bit more on how the affidavit is being used. So I'm just waiting here for him to join us. I sent him an invite. I sent you an invite, David, in case you're watching. And while you're here, hi guys. If you have any questions you want to type in, we can always try to address them at the end of the video. But we're diving into how he's using this affidavit. What is an affidavit? For me, this word affidavit is new. And I learned it when I started watching David Jose and the way he's using it. And it's worth learning right now. We have a lot going on, and this is something huge. Now, if I can get him to come on in. And he was zooming through that thing, but we can go into more detail into what's in the affidavit. Ah, there you are. Thank you for joining us, Leslie, and we appreciate you being here. David Jose.
Hey, hey.
Hey, you're back.
Yes, ma'am.
So everyone wants to know more. I was trying to explain a little bit because before you, I didn't know what an affidavit was, and I had not gone through my Bill of Rights and all of that as much as I have now.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talked about it before, it's very empowering to actually know that you stand on the right side of the law. So we want to know more about this affidavit you're using to, combat the CPS corruption and to give us some ideas as to how we may use it in the future as well.
Well, uh, first of all, an affidavit is a court of record document. When I say court of record, it moves by the common law in the way that you must have firsthand knowledge of the facts that you are presenting. So it is a document that you are making claims or declaring something under oath, under the
Mm-hmm.
penalty of perjury. So you're giving an oath or affirmation that something is true and that you have firsthand knowledge of the facts that you're stating or the claims that you're making. So when CPS makes an affidavit, first of all, or a document, they call it an affidavit, is not really an affidavit because an affidavit must be from someone who has firsthand knowledge of the facts. So a lot of times they will trick you by saying CPS swore to judge that you did something wrong. Well, no, CPS didn't do that. If CPS don't live in the house with you, if they did not see you do anything wrong, if
Mm-hmm.
there's no physical evidence of the kid being about to die and them stepping in the middle, it's a lie. Um, when it comes to the law, so when you show the law and you declare what the law is, or you declare what is a trespass to you, if somebody does not rebut it in the allotted time, it becomes what's called uh, truth in law, or it becomes the law, and it can't be rebutted after that. So you have what's called res judicata. And what that means is that something is already adjudicated or a judgment is already made. So when you send an affidavit to somebody, and they fail to respond, what they're actually doing is what's called acquiescing, which means they agree. So if you don't say you don't agree and that somebody's lying, you're saying you agree. Now,
Hmm.
how does this get super, super, super powerful? Well, what happens is that if you swear something is true, or you make an oath or affirmation that something is true, and then they fail to respond, what ends up happening is that um, they no longer get a chance to come back later and say that it's not true. But if you ever get a state worker to swear that something is not true, then what ends up happening is they lose all immunity because they're swearing under the penalty of perjury that
Mm-hmm.
something is a lie. So you can only swear or make an oath or affirmation as a man, not as a corporate entity. So an attorney can't come swear for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So a lot of times in cases, attorneys will come into a business courtroom. It's not even a real court, and they'll say, "Oh, well, we believe that Sandra did this and did that, and blah 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 blah, and she did this and she did that, and we want to take her kids because she did this and that." Well, first of all, there's a case called Hell versus Hinkle that says that an attorney, a fictitious entity, cannot put anything on the record. So when they're doing all this bumping their gums and making this big 2,000-page record, and they're putting it all in court cases and saying that this is what happened, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that because we don't know, they get away with it. So what they're doing is what's called a simulated legal process. So rather than going by the law and taking you to a court of record where nobody can lie and all that stuff, they'll take you before a corporate entity that looks like a court, but it's what's called a quasi court. It looks like a court, smells like a court, but it's not a court. Now, when we get inside of quasi courts and we write affidavits going against their rights, or I'm sorry, their power to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
what ends up happening is that now we're swearing on the record that you don't have the right to do what you're doing. And here's the laws that say that you don't even have the power you say you have. Now, what that does is throws them for a loop because everybody's in a play court where it's fake. So they get to
Mm-hmm.
lie. It's a corporate entity. It's not an actual court of competent jurisdiction. It's not an Article 3 court. So nobody goes to jail for lying. So they get you in there, and then you come with a dang affidavit that
Mm-hmm.
says, hey, I'm swearing you're lying. So I'm taking this from a fake court level to we all go to jail if we lie level.
Yeah.
So what that is what's called scary. Because if you want to be a crook and steal people's kids or force people to get vaccinations, you want to do it in fictitious places. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Kendra, you don't want people to take you into a real court where you go to prison for messing up. So that's how we take it to the next level. Now, at first, when we do affidavits, not everybody's going to understand in the legal world because the legal world has been tricked into believing that their statutes and codes are laws. But notice in the affidavit I just presented, what ended up
Mm-hmm.
happening in the Troxel versus Granville case, um, Washington State made what they call a law, which was just a statute, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
if a statute and a law are the same, there should be no reason that the highest law of the land, called the Constitution, should be able to just knock the freaking statute completely out the water, right? So everybody thinks that when somebody writes something like what they just wrote for y'all in California, that it's a law.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a
Mm-hmm.
freaking law. You guys have like California code, something, revised code or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a freaking law. But you'll get tricked into believing it is. So let me tell you what happened in the case so y'all realize how they really didn't make anything against y'all. It just looked
Okay.
like it. So here's what happened. So the Troxel court said that parents have the right to raise their children as they choose. So not even a grandparent can come take custody from you or any parenting time from you, not even 5 minutes. But Washington legislatures made a law called a statute, which is not really a law. They made a statute that's secondary to the Constitution, but
Mm-hmm.
people don't know it is. So in the law, it said any person can petition for anybody's kid at any time. All they got to do is make a petition to the superior court, and that allows them to get the ability to give the court jurisdiction to time from a parent. So the Troxel Court in 2000 said, well, that statute that Washington made was against the Constitution because nobody, not a court, not the legislature, and not a grandparent, has the right to tell a parent you're going to see their kid at any time at all. You can't even have the jurisdiction to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't stop thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people from taking kids from people, and CPS from taking kids from people in Washington with their state law, which all the judges knew was unconstitutional. But if you let them get away with it and let the legislature get away with it, they'll do it all day and night. See, it was on their books as a statute, which people think is a law, but it was unconstitutional the whole time. So you had mothers that cried, fathers that cried, people probably commit suicide over people taking away their kids, and the freaking law that they called, the statute they call a law, got knocked down by the Supreme Court and said, this junk ain't even constitutional. You can't use this.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes to show people can cry about what they're writing in California right now, and it's not constitutional.
Mm-hmm.
And because people don't know their rights, they think, well, we just got to follow the law of the land. That's not the law of the land. The Constitution is the supreme law. The Constitution says nobody can take liberty from you. In the Troxel case, they said that a parent can raise their child in the way they please. So if you don't want to give your kid shots, you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody can dictate that over you. But, hold on one second. Let me drink my Faygo. I went into the store and bought a Faygo. I haven't had these since I've been in Detroit. So I bought one.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my gosh, it's like the best. They call it, some people call it soda. We call it pop. It's called cream soda. Oh
I'm in the West Coast. We'll call it soda, but I've never seen that kind.
This stuff is amazing. Hold on, let me get one more bit.
Enjoy. I'll drink my Fiji water. I'm being healthy today.
I'm healthy too. I got a better water that I drink that's really high alkaline.
Oh,
I'll show it to y'all.
yes.
People gonna start thinking weird already. Like, what did it say?
Like
This
they
is
don't
my
already think we're weird. Oh, there you go.
alkaline water CBD version. So
Couldn't get better than that.
It's legit. It's legal. It's good stuff, you know. But the thing is that we have to realize what the law is, and sometimes we have to attack the paradigm that is put out there about the law, because people don't know the difference between laws and statutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I posted on my page probably less than a month ago. You can see where there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of so-called state laws that the Supreme Court kicked down and said it's unconstitutional. So people will follow this stuff, let people take their kids, put them in places where they'll get raped. They'll let themselves get shot with shots. They'll cry. They'll go crazy. And then they'll find out, oh, shucks, wait, this wasn't constitutional? This wasn't even a real law? See, this is what we have to do. We have to love each other enough to educate each other about important issues. And so I deal with a lot of people with the law, right? So one of the ways I first get people is I'll ask them a question. I'll say, where's the United States? I'll ask police officers this. I'll ask anybody. And they'll say, we're standing in it, you know, or whatever, right? And I'll say, really? And so then I'll take, there's a law that's in California in your UCC code that shows that the United States is the District of Columbia. So I'll take that and I'll show it to them, and then they'll see it and they'll say, it literally says the United States is in the District of Columbia. Now I say, hey, where's DC? And then they'll look and they'll say, all the way over there. And then I'll say, okay, so DC is all the way in the East Coast. So if DC is where the District of Columbia, where the United States is in, then can we be in the United States? Another one I'll take them to is, there's one that talks about doing affidavits, and it's like 1647 or 1247 or something like that. I can't remember what title 28 maybe. And it says that if you are outside of DC, you are without the United States, meaning outside. And if you're in the United States, how you have to say it a certain way. So it shows that there's a difference, right? So,
Okay, so I want to touch on that a little bit because that's
go
a
ahead.
new concept
Hmm.
that, I am learning and that I think, we're learning here. There are different layers of government, right? When we speak and we say the government, it's not just one entity. There's different layers of what we might refer to as a government, and these different layers or these different entities are what we're talking about, right? There,
Well,
it's not
well,
even,
you
or
you
go
you
ahead.
even got to be careful with that because there is what's called a government, which is de jure, and then there's what's called a de facto or a private government. So some of these entities that are running us now are not really government at all. They're private entities that are don't have a charter or
Mm-hmm.
are just private entities that are acting like government or using the force of government, but they ain't government at all. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, give me examples.
The FBI has no freaking charter. So
Really?
we run to the FBI and say, hey, go get this company. I mean, get this government official. They're trying to steal our kids and doing this. And they're like, we ain't got no jurisdiction. We ain't even trying to pay attention to you. They work for the corporate entity. They're not government. If you look
Mm-hmm.
at police now, police are private. If you look at the case Rodney Dale Class versus North Carolina, you're going to find that it was proven that the police are private and not even government officials. You could go look up their Dun and Bradstreet numbers. You could go look at the courts and find out that the courts are ran by judges, owned by judges privately,
Hmm.
and they have Dun and Bradstreet numbers. It's crazy, right?
Oh yeah,
So
there's
what's
so much.
happening is that when you get private entities in business, a lot of times is to hide beneficial interests or to provide a greater amount of security, right? I'm in business. When we get a lot of houses and we start owning stuff, we start
Mm-hmm.
putting it in trust because if somebody knows what it is that you own, they'll be quick to sue you and come after it. If they don't know what you own and everything is in the private, it ain't no way you're gonna find it.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 100 houses right now and nobody would know. And so what happens is that the government officials realize they're committing crimes against the people. So what they want to do is everybody wants to be private and foreign so you can't sue them. And at the same time, they want to be the government and have the force of government. So they want you to
Mm-hmm.
perceive that they got the right to do what they're doing. Like there was a
Mm-hmm.
case that came out not too long ago that said police can no longer police for profit. And you got to ask a question like, wait, so we pay these guys with our tax dollars. That means they're in the public. But
All
then
right.
they're also policing for profit, which means they're in
For
the
profit.
private. So you
Yeah.
go be in the public and private at the same time. That's against the law.
What a sweet deal.
Yeah. So if you look at CPS courts, they're all private. They're not government entities. CPS is not a government entity. The judges that they hire are what's called ALJs or administrative law judges. They'll hide that from you. But they're actually working in the private for CPS as pretty much independent contractors for CPS. So they work as clerks for the agencies.
Hmm.
And actually, Fran and another lady actually got somebody to admit that on a recording. The judge actually came out,
They're
they said,
awesome.
oh, so you work for CPS. And they said, I work for the state of blah, blah, blah through CPS. And it was like, everybody, you could hear it like, uh-oh. But see, the thing is that we've all learned and studied so much in the law. Now, of course, there's more stuff we can learn and know, but what we know it very well. And so when you start to know what you know very well, you can say certain things that put somebody in a trap so fast that they can't get out that it's ridiculous. But you got to keep it simple. You can't like start trying to sound like a lawyer and try to sound super smart and beat these people because they are word ninjas. They're used to trying to get you caught in jurisdiction by saying certain words to you to make you slip up and give them the ability to look over your cases. So they'll say something like,
Mm-hmm.
do you understand these proceedings? If you answer that, you've given them jurisdiction that fast.
Wow.
So when you say, yes, I understand to them means stand under, I submit myself to it. So they'll say, do you understand what I'm saying to you? And that means you're standing under their authority.
So how does one learn? Where do I start studying? How do I start? How does it
Well, first
people?
of all, you want to learn the stuff of the common law. David Straight is a beast at teaching like common law, because sometimes we'll get into understanding, we'll learn the common law, but there's like a law merchant, there's a admiralty law. So God in Genesis 1:26 gave us authority over everything. God said you have authority over the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, and all the things in the sea, and over the land and the creeping, crawling things on the land. There's another part in the Bible that people don't catch that actually says you also have jurisdiction on anything that comes out of the sea. So when these so-called admiralty courts come against us, an admiralty court is simply a court that's using water law jurisdiction. So they put
Okay.
everything in water law terms in order to freaking get you trapped, and they're working in a false system that they're not explaining to you what it is. But when you understand what the words mean, then you simply start catching, like, oh shucks, this person think they're slick, right? So I'll give you an example. When a ship comes into a port, it first goes through a canal, and anytime that ship comes through a canal, it goes to the port. And when it gets to the place of the port, what happens is that they dock onto the land, right? And whatever
Mhm.
comes through the canal is what's called birth, BERTH. And there
Mhm.
must be a birth certificate to declare everything on the ship. If you screw up one time and you got that birth certificate belonging to the state, they can confiscate everything that's on that ship. Now, whatever's delivered on that ship onto the land, they can take it all. Now, to give you an understanding so you can see how that connects. So when you have a kid or your child, the
Mhm.
child comes through your BIRTH, birth, canal,
Right.
water place, canal, right?
Mhm.
Canal. They come through the canal and they are accepted onto the land. Before they touch the land, before they touch the ground, a doctor catches them.
Mhm.
The doctor takes them and declares them with a birth certificate and uses you as an informant to tell what was on that ship and turn over whatever came through the birth canal. So
Okay.
then they get you to sign the birth certificate, and they have you with your name and your husband with a different name. They use your maiden name, and the husband got a different name, which means that you're not married. So
Hmm.
now you have what they call an illegitimate child that has no father. In common law, the father has rights to the kid. So they don't want you to be able to make a claim for your child. Now, all of this, though, is done by fraud. They do it when you are drugged many times because you just had an epidural. You just want to go home and see your baby. You just went through an immense amount of pain, which stops you from being able to contract. So you're handicapped to contract. But they say that that birth certificate is the contract, or the certificate of live birth is the contract that says that they get to have rights over your kid.
Hmm. So
And that's
all this
water
is so
law.
new to me. Yeah.
Every all that stuff had to do with water terms. They went from BERTH birth certificate to BIRTH birth certificate. They went from somebody docking you when you get to the border, I mean to the land, to a doctor taking you into the land. You see what I'm saying? And then
Mhm.
they use the admiralty law against us. And see, admiralty law should not be used except for on the water. So the Navy and all that stuff, that's what admiralty law is for. If somebody comes and they try to do something wrong against us by water or on the waters, you take it to a military tribunal that you have no rights. But what they're doing is they're taking us into admiralty jurisdiction, but they can't tell us that they're taking us into admiralty law, because we'll say, hold on, player, what the freak are you doing taking me to water law when we live on the freaking land? I'm all the way in California or Arizona. Look, I'm not on the water. You didn't catch me on no dang ship. But what'll happen is that that's right, Kendra. What'll happen is that they will use this law in secrecy, and somebody got caught with it the other day because somebody was asking, what law are you using against me? What power are you using against me? What's moving this court? And what they'll do is they don't want to answer you, but then this person came out the other day and said, oh, they can't say it's admiralty jurisdiction because then it'll blow their whole scam up. So they say it's statutory jurisdiction. Well, as we the people, we created the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We're not bound by the statutory jurisdiction. But they'll try to use that because people don't know that the statutory anything has to be looked at through the eyes of the common law or the law of the land, the Constitution, the general law. You can't use something against the creator. It's like God saying, hey, I'm going to create you people, and I'm going to give you the power to have dominion over the land. And then we look at God and say, God, you're my creator. You put me in place. You gave me the right and the power to be able to have dominion over the fish of the sea and to build a house and to make a family. But I don't like how short you made me, so I'm going to sue you for everything you got. This is exactly what's happening. We are the creators of the Constitution. We made the Bill of Rights. Then they're turning around and saying, well, we're going to sue you and make you take shots. We're going to sue you and take your cars away. We're going to sue you and take your house away. We're going to sue you and take your money. We're going to sue you and take this and that, take your kids. How the freak do you sue your God? How do you sue your creator?
So how do we use their tactics against them with this affidavit?
Well, we don't need their tactics. We just need the Bill of Rights that our parents gave us. Our great-great-great-grandparents gave us Bill of Rights and the ability to declare that rights are ours that we say are ours. So when we create your position in your office and your seat and we say, here, look, you have the ability to be a judge in my state, because we the people are the state, not them. You have the ability to be a legislator. You protect my interests and my rights. And the very moment you go outside of yourself and use a power that I didn't give you, you're stealing that right. You're stealing that power. See, it says in the Declaration of Rights that I just read to you guys, it says, all power is inherent in the people, and governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. So we give you what we let you have, and we didn't give you nothing else. So we need to stop asking if we can have the right to do something or the ability to do something and start saying, where in your trust indenture that we made for you did it say that you can take my kids or that you can force me to take a shot? Show me the page. Now, if you can't show it, I'm telling you, you're committing treason against me. So if you want to play this freaking game, just know the people are growing and we got a record of your treason. And all it takes is for an affidavit of treason is 2 people to witness something and say that you committed treason. 2 witnesses, just like in the Bible, is enough to prosecute you to the full extent of the law. You might have attorneys and judges that let you get away today, but we're learning the truth by the thousands and thousands and thousands. Next week, you might not be so lucky. So if you want to play this game that has such a heavy price to pay, play it. Because there once was a time where government officials didn't have power like they have now. There once was a time that the attorneys didn't rule the land, and we're going right back to it. So you can play for a little while. That's why people say, David Jose, we don't know where your kids are. You haven't seen them in a year and a half. Listen, I'm not that soft. I understand that I'm going to educate people so fast that the world is going to change. The only way this fraud system works is if they can keep people ignorant and take your rights a little bit at a time. That's why Pan tried to make a law here, then sneak a little law there, and then a little law here, right? See, they have to do that because if they just come out and tell you that they're screwing you, y'all will revolt. The way y'all women were acting the other day, beating on the door, come at y'all with some guns and say that y'all gonna force everybody's baby to do it and let y'all find out at the same time. It is not gonna be a pretty scene. And every husband that does not stand up and fight for their wife will be divorced the next day. Okay? So there's gonna be a lot of fighting men and a lot of people coming from different states if they try to force y'all. And they don't understand this. This is something y'all don't even understand yet. You guys have a power and strength inside of you that these people are taken advantage of because you are mothers and they don't understand that the Bible says a woman scorned is the worst thing to deal with. You don't mess with a woman and make her mad and think that everything is going to be okay. You won't break her. She freaking has babies. There's no amount of pain you can put a woman through that will stop her. If she wants to freaking do something, she's going to freaking do it. Period. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care how tough you think you are. I don't care how much you think you're going to force her. You will not make a woman, you won't break a woman that does not want to deal with you. Period. So the thing is that this is a dangerous game that they're playing. And the simple fact that you guys are learning the law makes it worse because a woman or a man who's righteous will not stand up against evil if they don't know that the evil is evil.
Mm-hmm.
But the very moment you let them know that they're on the right side of the field and that they're on the glorious righteous side, they'll die. That's why you don't like you're just let's just take Europeans. We have Europeans who are here who have taken bombs. Their family members have taken bombs on them during the time when we declared our independence and Britain wanted to knock down the flag and people were holding up the flag and they were shooting bombs at them and the next family come up and say, I'll die for the flag, I don't give a freak. Stand there, hold it, and get hit by a bomb and die. And they shoot more bombs and they're like, why is this flag still standing up? It's because you got people with such heart that they will die for what they believe in. And the will of people is outrageous. And so Pan and all these guys are messing with the will of people who want to live and protect their families. And the women are doing stuff that's showing that they're not afraid. And you guys are encouraging other people and men across the nation. This is a very dangerous time uh, in America because I don't feel I don't feel that the women are broken and weak and soft. I feel like these women are showing how men are supposed to be. And they're learning the law. And that's the thing. As we learn the law, we understand that we're standing in righteousness. We're not going to have that crap. I don't care who it is. The people are going to go back to the blood that's inside of them that stood against tyrants. The people are going to go back into remembering what Hitler did to people. They're going to go back and remember what Stalin did to people. They're going to go back and remember how tyrants kill millions. And they're going to say, this won't be us here in America.
That's right.
And they're learning the law. See, when you know you're on the righteous side, you're like, you get to the point where you say, hey, whatever happens, happens. But I'm sorry, I can't be so weak that I just allow you to destroy the people and I don't do nothing. And so,
Right.
God forbid something bad has to happen, but I believe that these people are going to realize that they need to do right by the law first. And I don't think it's going to go that far, but it might. And
We
the
might
thing
have to
is,
help them, realize that.
it's going to happen. Either God is going to show them in peace, or the people are going to come together and they're going to say, listen, you're going to stop. And then they're going to get it. They're going to say, oh, okay, well, I guess this means y'all serious. Yeah, it means we're very serious. So that's how the Declaration of Independence happened. It's happening all over again. People are learning the law now. People could be asleep right now. People could be watching Sex in the City if that still comes on. I ain't watched TV in so long, right? They could still be watching Golden Girls or 227, right? That's how long it's been since I really been watching TV, right? They
Yeah,
could
I
be
don't really
watching,
watch TV either,
yeah,
so I don't
they
know
could be
what's going on.
watching MASH, right? But they're watching something, learning about the law and talking about the truth. And one thing is that it's a psychological concept. People do things for two reasons. One is to gain pleasure. The other is avoid pain. So usually avoiding pain is avoiding pain is the greatest motivator. And so rather than pursuing happiness and pleasure and correcting these things in a good time, we have missed a lot of it. So now it's to a bad time where they're trying to force us. And what's happening is that people are now living off of avoiding pain. And while the politicians have sold out in many places and allowed for tyranny to happen because they're getting paid by corporate entities, what's happening is the people now are ready to avoid pain. The people don't really know how far they'll go to avoid pain. That's just a psychological concept. It's called fight or flight. You don't know what you're going to do until you get into a bad situation. Are you going to stand there and fight, or are you going to run? And when it comes to protecting babies, it's going to be a circumstance that people are not used to, and most women are not going to run.
Oh no.
See, right now, you know the difference if women are going to run or not when they say, I'll move out of California right now, and y'all ain't doing it. Y'all are not moving. So that's a bad sign for those who want to do tyranny. Very bad sign. Because rather than running, y'all beating on the door with the police right there. I'm like, dang, these people done turned gangster. Like, the popo is right there. And next to like, where else in? I'm like, oh shucks, this is getting heavy, man.
Oh,
Like,
it got
you know what
so
I'm saying?
real. Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, this is getting tough. But I guarantee you, none of the women knew that they were going to go that far that day.
Right.
None of them
No.
knew. That wasn't planned. That was the martyr. That was the sacrifice. That was the rebel from the 1700s coming out of y'all. That was your great
That's
forefathers,
the
that
truth.
blood, just like Trump said during his speech where he talked about the blood of people who stood up against tyranny being in your veins on July 4th. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what happened with y'all that day. Y'all were like, y'all kind of like said curse words without saying cuss words. They were like, bleep this, let us in, right?
It
Y'all
was still
grew.
very peaceful. Yeah.
It was peaceful, kind of, but knocking on the doors is not something that you look. When you
It,
go to the governmental office, you walk through there all humble and nice, and if you knock on any door, it's gonna be like, right?
oh yeah. That's how it's began. Everyone was super
Yeah,
cautious and
you ain't
yeah.
gonna be there like, poof, 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 let us in with the popo next to you. Popo got zip ties on and guns and all this stuff, and y'all like, let
Yeah.
us in, let us
Yeah.
in, right? That
Mm-hmm.
lets you know that. See, y'all don't really know. Y'all really don't know where y'all can go. That's the real truth. Is that y'all in your mind y'all think, well, we're just these nice, peaceful people, whatever. Y'all have no idea where they can push y'all, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. Mothers, you just got to look at. My schooling is in psychology. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm just saying my schooling is in psychology. I've done a lot of study. And you let people get to the point where they're in desperation and they will go very far. That's why I like to teach the law so that people don't get to that point. Where they
Mm-hmm.
get to the point where they put in affidavits and show people where they stand on the law. Because I don't want it to get to a point where you guys go to war. You know,
Right.
I want it to
Mm-hmm.
be peaceful, but it can really happen. It can really happen. So we got to do our best to notify people and humbly give them notice and talk to
Mm-hmm.
them and try to let them see that, listen, we're not playing with you. This is not a game. You're not going to just run us over. You're not going to do us any kind of way. You're not going to ignore us. You guys have
Mm-hmm.
done very well at showing that, but now with the added benefit of understanding your Bill of Rights, understanding your constitutions, understanding that you don't ask people for constitutional rights.
Right.
You have God-given rights. You
Mm-hmm.
show people where you never gave the duty or obligation or power for a public official to do something. You say, show me. Don't let them say, well, we're lawyers. We can tell you what's constitutional or unconstitutional. Shut the freak up. Regular
Mm-hmm.
people made the Constitution. So show me what page it says that you can give me a shot. Show me. Okay. Show me what page it says you can take my kid on. Where did I give you that power?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we as the people don't even have the power to take somebody's kid. So I can't just come take your kid. So if I can't come take your kid, I can't hire somebody else to come take your kid. You see what I'm saying? That's
Mm-hmm.
unconstitutional. Constitutional ain't some type of crazy freaking mystery thing that only a lawyer can figure out.
Mm-hmm.
Did I write that you got the power to do it? See, if I got a trust, right, and I say, okay, listen, we are going to buy houses in this trust. So I give you authority to buy houses in the name of the trust as a trustee. You are the only one who can do it. You cannot buy anything else in the trust, right? If I give you to buy houses for the benefit of the trustee, for the beneficiaries, can you go buying cars?
No.
Can't you get in trouble for just doing what you want to do outside of a contract with somebody else's money?
Mm-hmm.
So then, how in the world do you give somebody power to protect your rights and your property, and then somebody makes agreement with CPS and say, hey, you can go steal their kids so we can all make some money?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
So when we start giving them notice, because that's part of what this affidavit is for, right? This is
Yes.
actually a process or the beginning of a process.
Yeah,
Is
because
that
what
right?
happens is we give them notice that they're trespassing against us if they do a certain thing. Then what we do is if they've done the certain thing or they're doing it, we do a second step, which we give them an affidavit with their name on it. That's a private lawsuit. And it's
Mm-hmm.
between us, them, and the notary. So we send it to them and say, you trespass against me. You got 3 days to tell me you didn't. And if they don't say they didn't, then it becomes the law that they did. So it's a contract. The
Mm-hmm.
Constitution is a contract. It's saying, I agree to give you the power to handle things for me if you agree to make sure my rights don't get trampled against and you don't go against me in the law. And
Mm-hmm.
then they say, okay, I give an oath that I'm going to do that and I accept. They do a letter of acceptance. I accept your position. I promise to do this. Okay,
And
cool.
they
Now we got a
do an
contract.
oath, and they do an oath over the Constitution.
Yeah, because the Constitution is what gave them their seat. So we say we'll give a seat called the Constitution and allow there to be a position called a judge. Now, if the judge get beside himself and act stupid and decide that he wanted to be outside of good behavior, what's good behavior? What the freak we tell you in the Constitution? If you decide to go outside of it or go against our rights, you lose your position and you're acting privately. We didn't give you power to do that. So anytime you do anything we didn't give you power to do, you did that on your own.
Mm-hmm. I always learn so much from you. I mean, and again, what I love about what we're learning here is that, and like you said, this is not, you don't have to be a lawyer to know this. This is actually
Hey,
for us regular people that don't know about
we don't need to know
enough.
it. We
Yeah.
don't need all that garbage. We never made the law so sophisticated. It's just like the Bible. The Bible talks in plain words. God says, give the people the vision and make it plain so they can run with it. So if God says if somebody gonna run with the vision, make it plain, then we don't need idiotic people called attorneys who make a big word for a small word and make you think they're smart because they can say a big word that means a small word. It's kind of like if I say, hey, there has been a hiatus in the teaching of civics in school. Now I can say that, right? Now, many of us might not know what hiatus means. So, wouldn't it be better if I said, hey, there is a big gap in the time that people have taught us civics in school? Hiatus just means a big gap or missing space or a
Mm-hmm.
time where something was missing. I can use the word hiatus to make myself sound smart. Or I could just make it simple and say there's a big gap in the time that people taught us civics.
Mm-hmm.
I could say, hey, um, I I could say something like, hey, when I talk to you, I think I leave you beatified. And you'll say, what the freak you talking about, dude? That
Mm-hmm.
means I leave you in awe or amazement. So for me to say beatified, does that mean that I'm smarter because I use a bigger word to mean something that is simple? Or is it easier to communicate and have everybody learn the truth if I just speak in common English?
Mm-hmm.
So we get
That's
attorneys that make,
interesting. Mm-hmm.
yeah, attorneys use big words to make you believe that they're smart. Using a big word in place of a small word that you have to explain anyway does not make you smart. It makes you stupid because you're not reaching people on a common level so everybody gets it. So now we got to go back, define a word that I could have used another word to just make it simple, and we
Mm-hmm.
could have all been moving forward.
Kind of
But
like in the medical field, right?
yeah, so if somebody says, um, let's see, I got to think of one for, oh, if somebody talks about tertiary care,
See, I
tertiary,
understand that.
you know exactly what I'm saying, right? Right? Or primary care, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I talk about these different types of care, it would be easier if I say that, hey, I want to talk about care that's preventative, or I want to talk about care that's after something bad has happened, or I want to talk about this. See, people trick you with big terms. See, I've been at school. I've helped people become nurses. I help people become cosmetologists. It was wrong, but I help people with papers, right? And the thing is that people say, oh, well, you're a genius when they see the paper, but they don't know that I wrote it. I'm the one who gave the people the ideas. So I'm speaking to you about things that's in your world. When I say tertiary care, you know what I mean. I'm speaking to people who are in the world of psychology. I'm speaking to people about Tukey t-test and all this stuff, two-tail t-test. I can speak about a lot of different things that will go over a lot of people's head, but you never hear me talking about all these different things to make myself seem smart. I never do it. You probably never heard me say a big word in my life.
And so
So
that's what lawyers basically are doing as well. And that does creating confusion around the law, which creates a separation, right? From,
there you go. They
yeah.
need themselves to look at like as a special class of people so that they can explain what the law is to everybody and everybody trusts them because they use terms that you don't know. See, deceitful people and people who want to keep you away from their money
Mm-hmm.
will use big terms that you don't know to take you into what they want you to know, rather than taking you from what you know to where you can learn something.
So I want to tie this right back to a term that you used earlier when we were discussing the affidavits. And you say sui juris. That means that
Sui juris.
sui,
Sui juris means that you are in your you are in control of your affairs. You are able to handle one's own affairs. So you are in the proper status to be able to deal with the things that need to be done for your life. There's a maxim of law that says that we need to pretty much uh, carry out our own affairs, or uh, we need to deal with our own matters, right? And so what we have to do is we have to be in the proper status. So some of us will come to court and call ourselves a defendant. Stupid. We don't need to do that. You're not a defendant. Don't let anybody change the status of who you are. You are a man or a woman. You're able to handle your affairs, and you don't freaking work with fake courts and freaking private businesses and name yourself something that you're not. Another thing they'll call you is a non-custodial parent. The freak is that? That's something they make in the statutes to bring you into a court as something other than a man or a woman. They
wow,
call you a person in the statutes. Notice if you
it's
look
all
up article,
trickery.
yeah, if you look up Article 4 of the Bill of Rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna find that it says that um, the people shall be secure in their persons, papers, houses, and effects. The people shall be secure in their persons. Is people and person the same thing?
No.
No, because it says the people shall be secure in their persons.
Mm-hmm.
What the freak is
Mm-hmm.
a person? If I
Yeah.
got some persons, right? What the freak is that? Because the people are secure because the people made the Constitution. But the people shall also be secure in their persons. People be secure in their persons. Persons comes from the Roman word persona. And persona means a mask or a status or a condition. So you could be in the mask of a nurse. You
Hmm.
could be in the mask of a doctor. You could be in the mask of a lawyer, but that's not what you are as a man or woman. That's
Mm-hmm.
a position you hold. You can have a socioeconomic status that you hold, but
So
that's not you.
I want to then clarify something. When we're writing affidavits to these public servants, right, which who are then under a persona, am I correct? When they are in acting in their position or whatever. So when we're doing the affidavits, we are then writing them not onto their persona, but to their as people.
Yes, because
See,
you
I'm
want to
getting
go.
light bulbs. I'm starting
You
to
wanted to go to
understand all
them in the
this.
private because here's what you're doing. In the common law, for somebody to do something to you, they have to have the right to do it. So you're going to say, hey, private man or woman, tell me where you got the right to do this to me, because the common law is the highest law. You can put a mask on all you want to and say that you took my kids because you're a social worker. Well, there ain't no such thing of a freaking social worker. There's only men or women. You might put on a mask as a social worker, but there's nowhere in the Constitution or in the Bill of Rights or in the common law that
Yeah.
says that any man or woman can come snatch my kids.
Right.
So now, Mr. Private Man or Woman, tell me who the freak gave you the right to touch my kid. See, in the common law, children are part and parcel to the mother or father, or even what's called proper, belonging to you, a gift from God, a heritage from the Lord. That's what you are. I think it's Psalm 127:3 KJV. Psalm 127:3 verse 3 KJV tells you that children are a heritage from the Lord. And the fruit of the womb is your reward. So if God gives you a little one, he gave them to you exclusively as a gift, and nobody has the right to take them from you. So they're proper to you. They belong to you. This is why in the one case that I posted on Facebook, the judge said, no, in history, it wasn't so that the kid belonged to the state. The kid does not belong to the state. Don't get it twisted. See, they trick us and make us believe that the kid belongs to the state by the statute, but by the common law, the kid is yours, a liberty interest, and nobody can take them from you except for if you get prosecuted and go to prison and there's nobody to watch him. Then they can take him into care. You see? So when they tell you, oh, you're not going to get a shot, we're going to take your kid. Bull crap. You can say that. See, this is why people say, David, they took your kids. You don't have your kids. They didn't take my kids. They stole my kids. And it's only temporarily. I will get them back. I'm coming full speed ahead. You are going to wish you never did this because I will educate the freaking world. We will all know. We will make affidavits. And none of you sorry attorneys who want to fight us, none of you sorry politicians can ever attack my affidavits. They don't even try to rebut them. They just say, oh, what lawyer gave you this? No freaking lawyer. A regular, common, everyday dude who got on his ashy knees and asked God to show me where the truth was, and he showed it to me. Now nobody can rebut it. It's been to Congress. It's been to freaking attorneys, judges, guardian ad litem's. Don't nobody want a piece of that. Some of the people sent them back like, I don't want none of this. What you want me to do with this? They just got it. I mean, across the nation, people have told me that their attorneys like, I don't even want to touch that. Give it to all them. Leave me alone. I'm your attorney. I don't want it, right? They don't want a piece of it because they know what it's saying. They know that it's saying you're kidnapping. They know that it proves that there's no such law anywhere in the nation that says that they can take kids. It doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, it says that the laws they said they could use to take our kids say that you can't take kids. So now
That's
people
why
know.
I do want to go back. We're going to go back to your affidavit, and I would like to just take it a little bit slower and
I
get
gotta
people's
charge my
questions
computer and
answered.
get another Zoom.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
we can
Well,
do it for tomorrow late, I do it, and
definitely.
I'll have the computer charged up. That's my bad,
I
and I
appreciate your
apologize.
time. No, no, don't apologize. I appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge with us and just also for sharing your story with us because we, here in California, we're left a little bit, in a tight spot. So like you said, we are now ready. We are going to avoid, that pain. And I think we are finally ready to actually look into what you're doing and do something similar or, I mean, just learn our rights, like you said, and go
Let me
from
say
there.
this too. It's not my knowledge. I borrowed it from God, so
Of
it's really
course.
His wisdom. He led me to it. I'm nothing. I'm a nobody. I'm really nothing, you know? And God is all, God is everything. God is trustworthy. God is true. God is powerful. And God
Amen.
doesn't leave us hanging. And a lot of us are starting to realize that the state taught us to hate God for a reason. That reason is that the common law is where the common law came from the Bible. So if we knew the Bible, we would be knowing like, oh shucks, this ain't right. Something crazy about this. This don't make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we don't know because we don't like the Bible no more because they told us it wasn't no good. But really, like I said, I'm a nothing and I'm a nobody. I realized that I got in this situation and I can see now why God used me because when I see y'all on video crying and broken because something happened, I realize if I got my kids back on the first day, I would never be able to tell you guys what God has shown me. And so people say, well, David, you ain't seen your kids in a year and a half. I'm like, God is using me for a purpose. I'm not mad at God. I'm happy with God. I'm thankful because he's taking me to a different place and he's able to hold my children in perfect peace. They will be okay. And God is going to deliver them. He's going to deliver us. He's going to deliver you guys. And we're all going to have a victory at the same time. And I can be thankful and I can be happy and I'm going to have new family. I'm going to have my kids back. Y'all going to have y'all kids and have them safe. And we're all going to be able to have joy together in a world where we realize that, man, our own government tricked us to hate God. Our own government tricked us to remove God because they knew if we knew what God said, we would beat them in every court case. We would support each other. No jury would ever let these clowns get away with what they're doing with us. And we would stand for each other in a way that we have never stood before. So I am blessed to go through this affliction because God will use you and make you tougher and make you deal with stuff you never thought you could deal with. And so I'm not sad about what happened. I'm thankful that God has let me make it. I'm thankful that God has allowed me to live and be in my right mind. There's 2 people in the last couple of weeks that blew their brains out. So this is real life. You guys' lives are valuable, and I'm happy to be able to serve and for us to have good things happen together. We're going to take joy. We're going to have fun. We're going to grow. These politicians are going to fall. They are going to realize, like the Bible says, that they are but men, just like David said in the Bible. David said to God, God, let the nations know that they are but men. You ain't running nothing. Right? And the people are going to stand up and they're going to praise God and they're going to love God again and they're going to have a joy untold and we're going to get together. We're going to have fun. Our kids going to know each other. We're going to make dynasties together. We're going to do businesses together. We're going to do all types of good stuff. And I'm going to be happy.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm all in. I thank you for being who you are, and seriously, glory be to God. That's the end of that conversation, I think. Thank you so much for everything, and we'll talk soon. We'll talk again.
All right, now catch you later. Be cool. Y'all stay out of trouble. Peace. All right, now.
Peace.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.